Hi, and welcome to another episode of rinaLAB, where we're having casual conversations with scientists. Today we have a special guest, Hesam, and I'm going to make sure Farhangfar. You want to say that name again to make sure I've got it right?
Hesam, actually. Hesam Farhangfar.
There you go. Actually, instead of science, now we're talking engineering. So talk about your specialty. What is your field of study?
I am writing a PhD thesis in field of mechanical engineering in about non-deterministic and chaotic systems in dynamical stability. And from last year, I cooperated with MIT and Harvard Medical School on some projects in biomechanics. We worked on two projects. One of them was bioprinting of human organs and human tissues. Mm-hmm. I had the experience of working with 3D printer by the time that I was continuing my education in Germany. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's the same procedure that we use instead of plastic and resin living human cells to print human tissues.
So instead of plastic, it's human cells?
Yeah, from the nozzle, instead of plastic, just living cells comes out and we are putting them together.
Yeah.
So after a few hours or a few days, it depends on the tissue, they are interconnected with each other. If you take a look under the microscope, you will see that the cells are living and they are connected to each other. So that we can use these tissues, for example, skin, or maybe in the future, hopefully, like some complex organs like kidney or so on, that we can use for drug testing or implanting, so that we will not have to wait for donors, or the ethical problems with animal testing and so on will be solved, hopefully, in the future. Yeah. It was one of the projects. The second project that I was involved is about constructing and optimizing a bioreactor. Bioreactor is actually a small box that you put the cells inside. We have different chambers with different conditions, different pressures, and we put healthy and, for example, unhealthy cancer cells, human cells inside it. And we have a closed loop that we make some conditions like inside the human body, the same temperature, oxygen flow, and so on, so that these cells can grow, and we will send this bioreactor to the space to study the effects of microgravity on human cells, or if we have some diseases, illnesses, how, for example, cell division will work, or other effects that microgravity can have on the human cells.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Yes.
I'm curious what got you down this path. Like, when did you first start knowing that you wanted to start studying this type of science?
Actually, I always wanted to study mechanical engineering because it was always interesting for me. And by the time that I find out that there are such interdisciplinary teams that you can work with some people from totally other major, it was very interesting to work with them, because it was a wonderful experience also in the States. Because normally you work in my country or in Europe, you normally work with the people who are coming from your knowledge, like circle or the same major. My first experience with working in interdisciplinarity was in MIT and Harvard, that we worked with medical doctors from Harvard and engineers from MIT. And it's so interesting because you are always, as an engineer, looking for solutions. And if you are working with someone that don't know the boundaries and restrictions of your major, they can give very simple, wonderful solutions that they can think can be the answer. And that's why I thought maybe changing from mechanical engineering to biomechanics will be very interesting. And I continued this way. And maybe after also finishing my PhD, I will also stay in this track.
Okay. So it was a change. It was a shift for you. And it was really Sounds like to me that before interdisciplinary idea came, the knowledge was in silos. We call them silos. I don't know if you use that term or not, but it's just its own thing. And being you can learn so much whenever you're interconnected. So that's what happened with MIT and Harvard. And then, is that the point that caused you to make a shift? So you first were just doing mechanical engineering,
Yes.
but then once you did the interdisciplinary studies with in Harvard MIT, is that when you decided I'm going to go into biomechanical engineering?
Yeah, actually, I worked in different parts of mechanical engineering, but the most important, most interesting one for me was the last experience in Harvard and MIT that I worked with these people together. And the way of finding the solution for our actual problems was very interesting for me. And that's why I thought maybe also in the future can be, there will be more potential to work in this field and research in this field.
So in my imagination, I'm wondering when there's these disciplines together, your responsibility, you're part of the group. Is it designing the box and designing the tools, or is it the science?
Yes. Actually, some projects is starting from zero, so you have to construct everything. Some projects are about optimizing. For example, about this bioreactor, I had the responsibility to design a loop. So if I go just a few in the details, it was like that as I told you, we had these different chambers that we put the human cells inside them. And these chambers are connected with each other so that the oxygen can flow inside the chambers so that the cells can live and divide and so on. And it was a part of an integration project that I put two spectrum cameras by the time that oxygen flows inside the chambers and by the time that is leaving the chambers. And with the spectrum cameras, I was able to make pictures, and with the help of software, I can see how much oxygen is already consumed by the cells.
Right.
And how much oxygen should be inserted or injected to the loop so that we will have the same, like an incubator, we have the same conditions like a human body so that the cells can grow and we can study the effects on them.
Very fascinating. Very fascinating. When the 3D printing, going back to the 3D printing part, was your role in that taking the 3D printer that was used other things for and modifying it, or just is there any modifications necessary to print the human cells?
I can tell you how the process is actually about bioprinting and my role, what I did in this process. First of all, we need the cells, and we extract the cells, stem cells, from their different methods that you can extract the stem cells from human body, like from blood or foreskin, or there are other different possibilities that you can extract them. And then by gene editing, they can modify these stem cells to produce to be specific cells that we need. For example, in skin or kidney, we have different type of cells. So by gene editing, it's possible to make this specific cells that we need for printing the human tissues. And when we have these cells, that's the part that my work is beginning. We have the 3D printer, and this living cells are coming together from this nozzle. And through this nozzle goes to through a so-called hydrogel, is going to a platform that we layer for layer we can print the cells, put the cells beside each other, and after they need a time to cure, so-called cure, and to be connected with each other. And a part of the challenge was to switch between the cells, because even in simple tissues we have different types of cells.
Okay.
So it's not just one type of the cell that we put beside each other, there are different types. And it depends on the map of the tissue that we are printing. We have to switch between cell type A to B or to C or again to A. And it was the mechanical side that we wanted to optimize, so the accuracy of the 3D printer and switching mechanism we worked on.
Wow.
And some parts are because of the confidentiality, I cannot go 100% in detail.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Yeah, it's actually the main process that is done.
Yeah.
And the second project was also somehow related to biomechanics. It was an aerospace project, but sometimes you have one method, but you can implement it in different fields. Mm-hmm. So about bioreactor, we did also somehow the same methods to make the bioreactor so that we can have the cells alive in the space.
So when you were a kid, were you like, I'm going to be a mechanical engineer, or what was your dream when you were a kid?
I always was wondering about how the stuff are working, and that was the first idea to work with to see the different machines and thinking what's behind it, how they are connected to each other, how they are interacting, the different parts are interacting with each other. And that is the first idea that came to my mind, that I want to be a mechanical engineer.
I'm really curious about, so that was, I guess we'll take you back to, 10 years old. Is that when you were just had that curiosity? And then what was the next phase for you, like college, or what did that look like? I have Iranian background. I was born in Iran, and I did also my bachelor studies in Iran. If you come back, if you flash back to 10 years, by the time in our relatives, we have some also mechanical engineers. I always talk to them, and I was always curious about what are they doing in their companies and so on. And it was always interesting for me. So you had an influence in the family.
Exactly. And afterwards, after my college, I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. Mm-hmm. And it was not the end by the time that I did my bachelor studies. I wanted to continue my education, and as a mechanical engineer, if you want to continue your education, you are looking for the other opportunities. Normally, for example, I thought about Germany, and I decided to learn, because Germany is very famous for industry and mechanical engineering fields, related fields, or United States normally. And you look to the possibilities. I started to learn the language, and I moved to Germany. I did my master's studies in Berlin. Mm-hmm. And by that time, I worked with 3D printers.
So you had to learn a language first before you went to school there?
Yes. Before I decided to come to Germany, I decided to learn the language, because it was not like mastery in Germany, but it's a very difficult language. So I visited a language school that I could learn somehow German before entering the country, and I continued my learning German language, the process in Germany, and afterwards I was accepted for master's studies in Germany. Oh. And afterwards, after finishing my master's studies, I worked also a few years in the board of Switzerland and Austria for a mechanical engineering company. And then I decided to come back to the university to again continue my education as a PhD student. And now I'm somehow about to finish my studies.
So how many languages do you speak?
6 languages.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. Your native tongue is what?
My native tongue is Azerbaijani or Azeri. I'm coming from a northern part of Iran, which is close to the border of country Azerbaijan, but we are also speaking the same language. The official language of Iran is Persian. So you have to know Persian if you are going to school, and I learned also Persian as a child. as the second language. In the school, you learn Arabic and English as the second and third languages. And I can also speak fluently Turkish because Azeri and Turkish are relative languages. And I had many friends by the time that I was studying in Germany. I am fluently, I can speak Turkish. And German I learned before I left the country before coming to Germany. And if we can count also English to that I always trying to improve my English. But if we can count English also to that, it will be like 6 languages.
Wow. What fascinates me is that you did your initial studies, and besides having 6 languages, or at that point 5, I guess, because I'm going to go do my master's in another country and learn their language first, and then study something complex like mechanical engineering in another country with another language. So that's got to be difficult. I mean, it's engineering language is not easy. So it's got to be. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Congratulations. That's pretty awesome. I really like that.
Actually, German is a very powerful language, and it's for me like the language of the industry because Germans are very good in industrial products, and I decided to learn this language. But it was very difficult, but it worth it actually because I'm using it now every day, and
How long was it till you became comfortable speaking German? Was it like what time period? Because you finished school, and then I'm going to go to Germany.
Yes.
How long did that take?
It took like I can say maybe 6 months to 1 year to be fluent in German. At first, when you are visiting like the lectures in the university, it's some professors are coming from different parts of the country, and German language is not like English that you can understand the people all over the countries. They are like we have the academic German, we call it Hochdeutsch. That's what I learned. It's coming from one region of the country it's called Niedersachsen. It's a state, but there's major differences between German in north or south of Germany, or even in Switzerland or in Austria. So I also have the experience working with Swiss people, also with Austrian people, and I was also in the south. And by that time that I was visiting the lectures in the university, you have different professors which are coming from different parts of the country, and sometimes they're trying to speak like academic German, but after 5 minutes they switch to their own accent. So I thought that it's still not enough just speaking the high academic Hochdeutsch. And I tried to also have some studies in major accents in German language so that I can interact with the people. It's not just about studying. If you want to stay longer or live with these people, to enter the culture crisis of the country, so you have to speak this language.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why.
That's amazing. Really amazing. I wonder, since your family has the mechanical engineering background, if they love what you do now, because you've switched from mechanical engineering to biomechanical engineering. Are they just as impressed with you as you are with them?
Yes, they are always impressed every time that I call them and I say, I am now in this country working on this project and so on. My mother said last time told me, you are like Marco Polo, you are traveling a lot all over the world. And they are also, they like it, but I also like to be with my family sometimes, and traveling a lot make it's difficult actually to be with your parents always.
For sure. What is your favorite thing that you've learned in your journey?
Especially as I told you about the last experience in Boston, working within the disciplinary teams was wonderful. And all in all, engineering, like thinking about the problems and thinking how you can understanding the problems that can lead you to the solution. It's like a very beautiful journey for me. I'm always thinking about solving the problems or optimizing the systems that we have. Yeah.
So your calling inside you is solving that issue, solving the problem.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
That's the initial idea of being an engineer, actually, solving the problems.
Yeah, yeah. And now you just happen to do it in really, really cool ways. So who else gets to say, I do 3D human printing and do stuff that's going to go into space?
Yeah.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, about the second project, there are also some other motivations that brings you in this way. For example, about the aerospace project in bioreactor. There are so many researchers nowadays in this direction because we are really thinking NASA is planning to send human to Mars. So we are really thinking as to space as a backup planet for Earth. I mean, it sounds somehow like science fiction, but it's actually what makes me sad. I read this year in 2018, we broke some records about air pollutions and water pollutions, carbon-related product that we produce, deforestation, I don't know, like global warming and so on. That's also the other motivation that brings you in this field. I mean, I don't like that someday my grandchildren has to live like in 50 years, have to live somewhere else, not in the blue planet. As I told you, it's like science fiction, but it can really happen. But because the changes in our environment is like exponential, and we are treating the planet not as it deserves. And sometimes we are thinking that we are in the center, but taking a other look, like out of the box, we are a tiny part of a very sensible cycle. And it was the other motivation that because you can choose between different projects that you are interested in, and you can cooperate with researchers.
So part of your passion was, okay, I did the 3D printing and that was really, really cool, but I'm looking toward the future for my grandchildren, and I want to have an impact on the science that goes into space, because that may be a real possibility, even though we're talking about it as of science fiction now, but it may be a real possibility for my grandchildren. So I want to have that. I want to be able to touch that and help that. So it's a really nice cause that you've got a driving factor.
Exactly, because maybe in like coming decades, it will be the only solution. I mean, we are taking it not that serious nowadays, but it can happen that someday we have some conditions because of the situation that we made on Earth, that we have to leave this planet.
Sure.
That we have to live somewhere else because it's not don't have the conditions that we can continue living.
Right. Well, hopefully we fix the conditions here, but it's always good to have a backup. As you know, as being an engineer, there's always multiple ways to solve a problem.
Exactly.
For sure. That's very, very fascinating. I am still intrigued on the 3D printing. How cool is it to watch cells bind? Like for you, because you come from mechanical engineering, you're designing, how this works. But then, as you said, the cells, are different types, even in the same type of like skin or whatnot. It's different kinds of cells. So then to watch them kind of bind and do their thing, how cool is it for you?
Yes, exactly. Actually, as a mechanical engineering, building something that is alive is a different experience, because normally you are working with solid parts and so on. But in biomechanics, you are also biology is a part of the work, and it was very interesting to do something like that in 3D printing. And other aspects that also bioprinting had. Actually, I'm coming back to the other motivations. As you know, for example, in United States, just 1 out of 5 drugs can pass the clinical trial to come to the market to be approved, that we can use it.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Only 1 in 5.
1 in 5. And the thing is, developing a drug costs approximately between $200 to $300 million for each drug, even if they fail.
Right.
And so it's very expensive. And that's why we are developing the 3D printer. How it works, actually, the other problem is that even the drugs that are approved, that came on the market, if sometimes we use these drugs on the same illness on two different persons and they have different reactions. For example, the approved drug for cancer can be good for someone, the same cancer, and can be dangerous for another one. So the best way to solve this problem is to test the drugs on your body, on the body of patients.
Right.
But it's dangerous. So the other solution will be that we test these drugs outside of your body, but on your cells or on your organs.
Wow.
Yes. And so we use this method to have the same conditions as like the human body, that we extract the cells and we print the same organ. Maybe in the future we are not that that far that we have the organs, but we have these simple tissues. We can see how the stem cells or the modified by gene editing cells can react to the drug.
To your own body.
And yes, and then we have the modified drugs for each person that can work 100% perfectly.
Wow.
And
Talk about customization of medicine to the individual.
Exactly. Because as I told you, even the approved drugs can have totally different effects on different persons.
Yeah, well, just doing the math there, you said 1 in 5 drugs get approved. And if each drug, even the ones that don't get approved, cost $200 to $300 million, you're talking over $1 billion to get one into market, because you got 4 failed ones and one's getting to the market. That's really expensive.
Yes.
And then being able to test those on tissue makes it much more efficient and faster. And then I love the customization, because it's like, okay, now you're using my cells, see how it's going to react before you put it in my body.
Exactly.
That is just opens up all sorts of new things for medicine.
Yes.
It's really incredible.
And also implanting the new organs inside the body with the cells that are extracted from the patient will work like 100%, because most of the time, and not most of the time, sometimes we have the problem that implanted organs are not suitable for this person, and we have some other problems rejecting the organs. But with this method, if someday we will be able, that I'm sure that we will be able to print organs with stem cells, modified stem cells, it will be 100% compatible with their body.
I'm going to make sure to keep your number in my back pocket if I ever need it. Like, you're going to have the latest technology. I was like, hey, what's going on here? That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
So our audience is composed of all kinds of people, and some are students that are like trying to figure out their way. What would your advice be to a student that's like trying to think, I don't know what I want to do, based on what you've experienced? Like, what advice would you give to a student?
Actually, there's an old saying that you have to go for your passion. So I have to repeat it again. And it's also important to know your abilities. I mean, we have always some natural talents that we can say you can try in this field, but if you have the talent also in talent in this field, you can push your boundaries forward, and it will be quick that you have the primary results of your research. So you will know that it will be good for you. As I told, I think it's important to know that what you are doing it with your passion, and you are not investing just time to do some research and that you are not interested in. Right. So you will make no progress or very small progress in this field. And
sometimes your passions change, and it's okay.
Yes.
Or your field of study changes, and it's okay. So you start off with one type of study, and then you switch it down the road as you
Yes, exactly. Learn, right? Because if you know the principles, if you know the methods, you can also use this method. If you know them good, you can use it in different fields. That's what I did also, because I switched also between different fields of mechanical engineering, and I loved each part that I did actually up to now. And maybe I will work in another field in aerospace maybe in the future. So it's not that you have to be restricted just in one field, that you are working in this field and you will never be able to change.
Right. And you just have an open mind.
Yes.
And kind of work with a cause too, because everything that I've heard you say is like there's an underlying mission, aerospace, the grandchildren, fixing a solution for the future in the 3D printing. It's also personalization of medicine and making it less expensive and more custom to the individual. So there's always a passion behind it.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you very much for being with us. I really have enjoyed this conversation, this casual conversation with a scientist and bioengineer. It's been very, very fascinating.
Thank you
so
very
much
for having me here.
Thanks.